A disease is a particular abnormal condition that adversely affects the structure or function of all or part of an organism and is not immediately due to any external injury. Diseases are often known to be medical conditions that are associated with specific signs and symptoms. A disease may be caused by external factors such as pathogens or by internal dysfunctions. Diseases can be classified into two types: congenital disease and acquired disease. There are two types of acquired diseases: communicable or contagious or infectious diseases and non-communicable or non-infectious. Contagious diseases are bacterial, viral, fungal, protozoal, and helminthic. Non-infectious diseases are degenerative, deficiency, metabolic, allergy, injury, and cancer. Transmission is the process by which a pathogen spreads from one host to another. Diseases or infections are transmitted in many ways. It may be directly transmitted from one person to another, or by certain bacteria, viruses, protozoa, or fungi. There are two different modes of transmission of diseases: direct transmission and indirect transmission. Direct transmission means when the pathogen is transmitted directly from an infected person. Indirect transmission means when the pathogens are not transmitted directly from the infected person but through vectors such as flies, mosquitoes, ticks, dogs, etc. It is known as indirect transmission. Direct transmission includes direct contact, droplet infection, contact with soil, transplacental or vertical, and inoculation into skin or mucosa. Indirect transmission includes vehicle-borne, vector-borne, air-borne, and fomite-borne. Next, we will discuss arthropod-borne disease. Arthropods form a major group of disease vectors with mosquitoes, flies, sandflies, lice, fleas, ticks, and mites transmitting a huge number of diseases. Viral diseases are yellow fever, encephalitis, dengue fever, and Rift Valley fever. Bacterial disease is plague. Parasitic diseases are malaria, filariasis, and leishmaniasis. Rickettsial diseases are typhus and Q fever. Spirochetal disease is relapsing fever. Malaria is a life-threatening disease spread to humans by some types of mosquitoes. It is mostly found in tropical countries. It is preventable and curable. There are 5 Plasmodium parasite species that cause malaria in humans, and 2 of these species, Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium vivax, pose the greatest threat. Plasmodium vivax cause benign tertian malaria. Plasmodium ovale cause benign tertian malaria. Plasmodium malariae cause benign quartan malaria. Plasmodium falciparum malignant tertian malaria. Definitive host is female Anopheles mosquito. Intermediate host is man. Vector is female Anopheles mosquito. Target organ is RBC and liver. Infective stage to vector gametocytes. Infective stage to man sporozoite. Leishmaniasis is an infection with Leishmania, a group of parasitic protozoa. Leishmania parasites are found in tropical and subtropical areas of the world. It can cause severe ulcers on your skin, cutaneous leishmaniasis, or infection of your internal organs that can be fatal, visceral leishmaniasis. Antiparasitic medications treat leishmaniasis. Leishmania tropica, Leishmania major, Leishmania mexicana, and Leishmania ethiopica cause cutaneous leishmaniasis. Leishmania brasiliensis cause mucocutaneous leishmaniasis. Leishmania donovani, Leishmania infantum, and Leishmania chagassi cause visceral leishmaniasis. It is transmitted by sandflies. Visceral leishmaniasis is also known as kala-azar. Lymphatic filariasis, commonly known as elephantiasis, is a painful and profoundly disfiguring disease. It is caused by infection with parasites classified as nematodes, roundworms, of the family Filariididia that are transmitted through the bites of infected mosquitoes. Mosquito-transmitted larvae are deposited on the skin from where they can enter the body. The larvae then migrate to the lymphatic vessels where they develop into adult worms, thus continuing a cycle of transmission. Causative agent is Wuchereria bancrofti. Females' worms produce microfilaria that reach bloodstream 6 to 12 months after infection. The microfilaria appears in large number during night with maximum density in blood between 10 p.m. and 2 p.m., nocturnal periodicity. Definitive host is man. Intermediate host is mosquito, Aedes, Anopheles, Culex. Target organ is lymphatic vessels of lower limbs. Relapsing fever is a bacterial infection transmitted by a louse or tick. It is characterized by repeated episodes of fever. Relapsing fever is an infection caused by several species of bacteria in the Borrelia family. There are two major forms of relapsing fever. 1. Tick-borne relapsing fever, TBRF, is transmitted by the Ornithodoros tick. It occurs in Africa, Spain, Saudi Arabia, Asia, and certain areas in the western United States and Canada. The bacteria species associated with TBRF are Borrelia daytonii, Borrelia hermsii, and Borrelia parkeri. 2. Louse-borne relapsing fever, LBRF, is transmitted by body lice. It is most common in Asia, Africa, and Central and South America. The bacteria species associated with LBRF is Borrelia recurrentis. Q fever, also called query fever, is a bacterial infection caused by the bacteria Coxiella bernicii. The bacteria are most commonly found in cattle, sheep, and goats around the world. Humans typically get Q fever when they breathe in dust that was contaminated by infected animals. Farmers, veterinarians, and people who work with these animals in labs are at the highest risk of being infected. The highest amounts of bacteria are found in the birth products, placenta, amniotic fluid, etc., of infected animals. Typhus is a disease caused by infection with one or more rickettsial bacteria. Fleas, mites, lice, or ticks transmit it when they bite you. Fleas, mites, lice, and ticks are types of invertebrate animals known as arthropods. When arthropods carrying around rickettsial bacteria bite someone, they transmit the bacteria that causes typhus. Scratching the bite further opens the skin and allows the bacteria greater access to the bloodstream. Once in the bloodstream, the bacteria continue to reproduce and grow. There are 3 different types of typhus: epidemic typhus or louse-borne typhus or classical typhus, endemic typhus or flea-borne typhus or murine typhus, and scrub typhus. Typhus is not transmitted from person to person like a cold or the flu. There are 3 different types of typhus, and each type is caused by a different type of bacterium and transmitted by a different type of arthropod. Epidemic type is caused by Rickettsia prowazekii and carried by the body louse, and possibly by ticks as well. It can be found around the world, including in the United States, but is typically found in areas of high population and poor sanitation, where conditions promote lice infestation. Alternatively known as murine typhus, this type is caused by Rickettsia typhi and is carried by the rat flea or cat flea. Endemic typhus can be found worldwide. It may be found among people in close contact with rats. It isn't commonly found in the United States, but cases have been reported in some areas, primarily Texas and Southern California. Scrub type is caused by Orientia tsutsugamushi and carried by mites in their larval stage when they are chiggers. This type of typhus is more commonly found in Asia, Australia, Papua New Guinea, and the Pacific Islands. It's also called tsutsugamushi disease. Yellow fever is a viral disease that is transmitted to humans by the bites of infected mosquitoes. It is prone to epidemics and is preventable with a vaccine. These day-biting mosquitoes breed around houses, in forests or jungles, or in both habitats. Yellow fever is a high-impact, high-threat disease with a risk of international spread, representing a potential threat to global health security. There are 3 types of transmission cycles. 1. Sylvatic, or jungle. Yellow fever spreads when monkeys are bitten by wild mosquitoes that pass the virus on to other monkeys and humans. 2. Intermediate yellow fever spreads when semi-domestic mosquitoes infect both monkeys and people. This is the most common type of outbreak in Africa. 3. Urban yellow fever can cause large epidemics when infected people introduce the virus into heavily populated areas with high mosquito density and where people have little immunity. Dengue fever is a painful, debilitating mosquito-borne disease caused by any one of 4 closely related dengue viruses. These viruses are related to the viruses that cause West Nile infection and yellow fever. Dengue fever is transmitted by the bite of an Aedes mosquito infected with the dengue virus. The mosquito becomes infected when it bites a person with dengue virus in their blood. It can't be spread directly from one person to another person. Rift Valley fever, RVF, is caused by Rift Valley fever virus, which is found in most of sub-Saharan Africa, especially eastern and southern Africa. Rift Valley fever virus is carried by mosquitoes and can spread to people and animals, including cows, buffalo, sheep, goats, and camels. RVF most often affects domestic animals, including livestock, and causes severe illness, pregnancy loss, and death in the animals. RVF creates a major economic burden in affected areas as raising animals for milk and meat is an important source of income for many people. Sexually transmitted diseases are caused by sexually transmitted infections. They are spread mainly by sexual contact. Sexually transmitted diseases are caused by bacteria, viruses, or parasites. A sexually transmitted infection may pass from person to person in blood, semen, or vaginal and other bodily fluids. Sometimes sexually transmitted infections are spread in ways other than sexual contact. For example, sexually transmitted diseases can spread to infants during pregnancy or childbirth. Sexually transmitted diseases also can spread through blood transfusions or shared needles. Sexually transmitted diseases don't always cause symptoms. A person can get sexually transmitted infections from another person who seems healthy and may not even know they have an infection. Viral diseases are AIDS, genital herpes simplex, genital warts, and hepatitis. Bacterial diseases are syphilis, gonorrhea, non-gonorrheal urethritis, chancroid, nonspecific vaginitis, granuloma inguinal, and chlamydia. Parasitic diseases are trichomonas vaginitis and uraritis, scabies, pediculosis pubis, and pubic lice. Fungal diseases are vaginal thrush vulvovaginitis and balanitis. Disease and causative organism. Human immunodeficiency virus causes AIDS. Treponema pallidum causes syphilis. Neustria gonorrhea causes gonorrhea. Herpes simplex virus causes genital herpes. Human papilloma virus causes genital warts. Trichomonas vaginalis causes trichomoniasis. Chlamydia trachomatis causes chlamydia. Congenital disorders can be defined as structural or functional anomalies that occur during intrauterine life. Also called birth defects, congenital anomalies, or congenital malformations, these conditions develop prenatally and may be identified before or at birth, or later in life. An estimated 6% of babies worldwide are born with a congenital disorder, resulting in hundreds of thousands of associated deaths. However, the true number of cases may be much higher because statistics do not often consider terminated pregnancies and stillbirths. Some common congenital disorders are hemophilia, color blindness, Klinefelter syndrome, Down syndrome, Turner's syndrome, sickle cell anemia, and cystic fibrosis.